Hear me, Emily?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, I don't know what was going on before.
Yeah, I think it was my internet connection. Sorry about that. It's been
No worries.
messy now.
Okay.
All right, well, how have you been this evening?
I've been really well. I just got out of school about an hour ago. So, kind of just hanging out, taking some time off.
Yeah, it's pretty late for me.
Yeah,
Right now it's like around
late.
7:30.
Yeah, sorry. I know
But
time difference.
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Whatever worked for you, I wanted to get it done today, so you don't have to wait that long or have that. Have a free day tomorrow, open schedule, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you ready for this interview?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, then let's get it started. Um, so a little bit about me. I'm Joe from the National Youth Bike Council, and I actually have been riding bikes and working with bikes for at least I think 10 years now, or at least 8 or 9, because it's been 2012 is when I got my first bike and was a part of something called the Neighborhood Bike Works.
Cool.
So it's been about 8 to 9 years now. Um, and in that time, I would say I really have changed from the beginning to the end. And I know how mine started, and if I could elaborate that a little bit, but I want to know, how did your bike adventure, I'll call it, how did your cycling story begin?
Yeah, so basically, ever since I was little, my parents always just wanted me to bike everywhere. To be honest, a lot of it was probably them not wanting to drive me anywhere. So ever
My
since I was little, it's always just been, I'm the youngest of four, so there wasn't a lot of time for them to, drive me places. So ever since I was little, I've just been biking everywhere to school, to, like sports practices and things like that. So ever since then, it's just been a really big part of my life. I'm really lucky I live in an area where biking is really accessible and fairly safe. So yeah, I would just say it's been a big part of life ever since I was little, and I hope it continues to be. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you today.
All right, well, that sounds really nice because it was kind of different for me. I kind of got into a biking program with no interest in biking at all. And then I began to learn that, oh, wait, biking can actually be interesting when you start putting time into it and you learn the people about it and the people that are there. Like
Right.
you, Emily, learning about people like you inspires me to get out and bike more or do more bike related things and help youth out there because I know there's people like you that really are worth putting the time and effort into it instead of just sitting at home playing games or doing something like that could easily be helping out. So I went from 2012 not really knowing much to now helping out. Really, it's been a really big difference, and I'm glad to see that you're also grown out from when you first started. It became more of a like travel. I need to use a bike to travel, but now it's more than just get a bike to travel.
Yeah.
But you, you talked about your bike, but what type of bikes do you like? What's your
Um,
favorite bike?
Honestly, my bike is just like a regular road bike. I don't even know how long I've had it. It's probably been like 6 or 7 years now. When I was really little, I used to ride one of
Mm.
those like Electra cruisers. It was mint green, and all I remember is it was really, really slow.
Ah.
And I used to bike places with my brothers and dad, and I'd always get left behind because it was so slow. But now I ride a somewhat faster bike. It's a public bike. I don't know if you've heard of that company, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great to me because my first bike, if I can recall, was a mountain bike. It was green and yellow, and it really was one of those. It was like, if I describe it, it's just a bike. Literally was just a bike.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like it had nothing to it. It was just a bike with colors on it. Like if I
Mhm.
just colored something with stripes, that would be it.
Yeah.
But bikes now and then are today's age. They have really advanced a lot and have really grown out.
Yeah.
But that's great to hear. Do you have a favorite trail you like to bike on with your bike, or a favorite place you like to go into?
Um, Honestly, my favorite place to bike is just around my neighborhood. I live in Northern California in the Bay Area. Or actually, the other weekend I went with my family up to San Francisco. You can take the train from where I live with your bike, and you get like dropped off right at the start of a bike trail, and you can bike all the way up to the Golden Gate Bridge and then across. So that's probably my favorite place to bike. It's just really pretty and really like scenic. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was looking for something like that because most places like most people like different type of places, and I was hoping you weren't going to say something like, "Oh, I like to bike to school," and I've been like, "Something's wrong." Like something would have to be wrong. You said, "I like to bike to school," but you like going to other places. Not saying that school is wrong or anything, but people I've just seen people have different preferences, and they all sound the same. They're all like interesting places that you really don't hear now and then, but when you know ride bikes, you get to hear about different places, and they're all come with their own unique, personalities, and that's really what I like to hear. So, how many times will you bike a day or your
Um,
day?
right now that I'm back in school, I'll bike to school, which I guess is once a day, and then if I have anywhere to go after school, I would bike there. During like just normal life, for example, over the summer or over a school break, I would say I bike like at least once a day for something practical, like having to get somewhere. Um, and then also probably once a day just to like hang out for leisure. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say I take too many big like biking trips like I was talking about when I went to San Francisco because those are pretty time consuming, but every once in a while, maybe like once a month or once or twice a month, I'll do that. So, yeah.
That sounds good to me. Um, I get out when I can, because I'm online schooled, so I don't really have anywhere to bike. And the only time I really go out is when I'm going to either an event with my brother, Joshua, or when I just need to get things done around, my neighborhood. And that's really the only times that I go out to bike.
Yeah.
But other than that, I usually stay home and just work with Joshua at NYBC to get my daily acts in, because even if I can't actively bike, I can still help out the community,
Yeah.
just by being online and spreading the word about the NYBC and helping there and here. So besides biking, how do you help the community when you're out there cycling?
Yeah, so kind of like what you were saying, I think a really cool thing about where I live is it's pretty like progressive in terms of transportation, and there's a lot of movements to get more people out
Mm-hmm.
walking or biking places as opposed to driving. Um, so I think like what you were saying about your work with the National Youth Bike Council, that's kind of similar to what I'm doing with the Silicone Valley Bicycle Coalition, and then also with like a couple local schools around here. We're working on some programming called
Oh,
like Safe Routes to School for younger kids who are trying to bike to school, but there's not a
nice.
great like safe way to get there. So that's kind of how I've been connecting with
Yeah.
biking outside of actually biking because, yeah, like you said, especially over the past year when there's just a lot of time at home trying to find ways to kind of connect with biking. It's not actually biking, so that's kind of what I've been doing. But yeah,
That's all sounds very, very nice. Like things you can actively do even at home. So the next thing would probably be I don't think you said it, but what's your leadership role, like the role you play?
um, at the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition or just in general?
Uh, my coalition.
Yeah, so well, I guess I don't have an official title. I'm an intern there, but I'm the only like youth intern. So I'm the first intern they've had that's not, or that's like a teenager. So I feel like I've been able to provide a lot of perspective from younger
Mm-hmm.
generations and people, like
Yeah.
the people who will be biking in the future. And so that's been a really cool experience for me to kind of introduce it to a lot of my friends who haven't had a lot of exposure to this type of thing, and also just be able for like policymakers and kind of the higher ups of the Silicone Valley Bicycle Coalition, for them to be able to hear what it's like from someone who's younger has been really impactful. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So say one of these, like hypothetically, say one of these friends like walked up and were like one of your friends walked up and was wanting to have a bike that was broken. Have you ever fixed a bike before? Could you help them with that?
Yeah, so when I was like 13 or 14, I was really into like bike fixing and doing things with my hands. I haven't done it much recently. I used to volunteer. There's like a local, it's connected through the university here, but it's like a bike fixing workshop place where volunteers
Yeah.
from the community go in and like any bike that's there, they'll take it home, they'll fix it, and then they'll bring it back. So my stepdad is really involved with that, and so I've been going with him recently to help fix some of those bikes. But yeah, I don't know. A friend's never asked, but that is kind of an interesting thing to think about. If they asked, would I be able to help them? I think so. I hope so, because I spent a lot of time trying to learn, and so hopefully something has stuck. But yeah.
Well, that's a good perspective. I know you could help them. You seem knowledgeable, and if you weren't, I'm pretty sure you still could because of all the experience you've been having so far. So, even though it's an interesting question, I'm sure you would hit it right on the dot. Whatever question. Because to me, in 2012, when I got my first bike, I had to back then, it's not you just be active and you get a bike. I had to, build up my bike. I had to fix it. I had to put it together. I had to do so much just to earn a bike. And that's what it was called. It was called Earn a Bike. Yeah, but nowadays I feel like people just get bikes by buying them. They don't even build them, and then when they break, they leave them. They don't even know how to fix them either. So to me, it can get pretty interesting when you're faced with the task of building a bike, or not building it but fixing it up. So I'm glad to hear you can help out there. So how I don't think I asked you, but how long have you been cycling for?
Um, Kind of like my whole life. I remember very vividly when I learned how to ride a bike. I think I was like 4 or 5, and I remember my whole family wanted to take a bike ride to someplace. I don't even remember where. And I remember we couldn't because I didn't know how to ride a bike yet. And the usual like bike trailer thing that you can put little kids in that was attached to my dad's bike like broke or something, so we couldn't take it. So I remember I felt really, really guilty and really bad that I couldn't
Mm.
go because it was my fault. So I spent the rest of the afternoon trying to learn how to ride a bike in our little cul-de-sac. And after
Yeah.
like 7 hours, I figured it out. And that was a very exciting, pivotal time for me. So yeah, like I said, I think that was around 4 or 5. So I guess since then, which is what, 13 years?
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, that's certainly longer than me. Sure, but that's quite interesting because how do you view cycling now compared to when you first started?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question because when I was little, or I guess all the way up until like through middle school, I really hated biking. Like, because none of my friends were really doing it. I was like the only one. Well, I had one friend who would bike with me to school, and she always hated it. She always asked if we could drive. And I was just like, I don't know, I guess I was very like ashamed or like embarrassed that I had to
Yeah.
bike everywhere. So for a while I resented it, but now that I'm older and I've realized that it's such a great way to get around, that's better for the environment, it's a great way to just get outside and move your body a little bit. I really enjoy it. So I think my perspective has kind of shifted from something like I have to do it and I hated it to now I'm like, okay, it's like a privilege that I live in an area where I can and that I have access to a bike that works and I can bike around safely and I have the means to get around places on my own. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a little bit what I went to into earlier about how at the start it was annoying and it wasn't a necessity,
Yeah.
but in the end it really changed to something more than I have to do it, just I don't like to do it. It became something I like to do it and I want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's really good to hear from different perspectives of different people. Is that they came from a backstory that sounds dark, but then at the end of it, it's like full of light, and that's what biking really can do. Like for me, it was only for traveling, but then it turned into something way bigger than just traveling.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's really great to hear. So, how would you say cycling has impacted your life?
Um, like I was saying before, it's become a really big part of my life. I think it's a big part of also my family. It's something that my parents have always done and my siblings as well. But I think like it's just been a really great way for me to learn independence. Like I've when I was younger and there was a place that I needed to go, it was up to me to find a way to get there on my own.
Yeah.
And so like cycling, biking, whatever you want to call it, has been a really great way for me to do that because like getting around and going places on your own is kind of scary, but through being able to bike, I've been able to kind of learn how to do that. So, yeah.
That's great to hear. It's great to hear that it impacted your life in a good way.
Yeah, it's definitely been
And
positive.
yeah, down through the whole time you've been biking, what's one thing you haven't seen yet that you would like to see more of or see at all?
Um, I think it would be really cool if we could get more younger people on bikes. Like
Mm.
when you're really young, like elementary school, there's always the fear, like some people's parents are scared, like, oh, it's not safe for them to bike alone. But I think there's definitely an opportunity to create safe routes for kids to go to school, to implement better, like, education around, biking and walking and mobility in general. And so I think it'd be really cool for communities and cities to start coming together to support safer transportation and transportation
Yeah.
that's better for the environment. So, yeah, I think
Definitely.
increasing accessibility and equity around biking, especially for younger people, would be really cool. So,
All right, that's nice to know. And would you say that goes into the next year as well? Like as the next year starts rolling around, should that be rolling around to next year, or
yeah,
is that
definitely, I think so.
something completely different that needs to happen?
Yeah, I think it continues into next year. So, yeah.
All right, well, that seems pretty good to me. I mean, I have nothing to argue against or disagree with. That seems like everything on my radar checked off.
Yeah.
And what national group, like what resources from national groups do you think are most important to you?
Um, that's a tough question. I'm not really sure.
I
Um,
mean, I think it could be anything. It could be the little things, even like maybe them just supporting youth or just doing the littlest things like making events.
yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it is just supporting the younger people who are willing to take on this initiative. I think a lot of the time, younger people, like our generation, kind of get pushed to the side, especially around big picture items that seem really complicated and scary, like, transportation or policy or things like that.
Yeah.
And so for national organizations to kind of take that step to support younger people in doing that would be really cool and a really great way to improve like education and accessibility. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, what you're saying about just support from those companies and resources and kind of just
All right.
being on our side. So yeah.
All right. That's nice. Um, and well, that's basically all the questions that I have because these are just common questions that are should be common sense, or at the least we bring up to ask, and they're really good questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you answered them thoroughly, and you had your own answer for each one. Not every answer is the same, but every answer comes to the same conclusion, which
Yeah.
is just being support youth, and just getting the message out there that we're trying to bring the National Youth Bike Council. And that's what I like to see, because it's not just one thing. It's a lot of things that can just be learned and that are said and are true.
Yeah.
So let me just add on one more thing because I know it was kind of difficult getting into it, you know. I just want to know, is there anything that I could have done that would have been better for you to get in and just get right to it? Or was it like a little delayed or something? Like as far as the Instagram,
Yeah.
what could I have done better?
No, you were great. Thank you for asking such insightful questions. I really appreciate you inviting me here today.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Thanks.
I think, yeah, the Instagram, I don't know, technology is always a little bit tricky. Um, I think, yeah, I don't know, just the thing, like, when I logged on at 4:30, it, like, wasn't there. So then I was like, okay, I'll wait a little bit. And it didn't show up for me until, like, 4:40 or so, the live. And then obviously
Yeah,
when we joined, the, it, like, wasn't letting me join. So I think those are honestly just technological things, though, that are kind of hard to work around. But in terms of what you're doing, you did great. And yeah, maybe just trying to work through those technology.
definitely because our other Instagram lives have been like right on dot
Yeah.
with different issues now and then, but this one had a little bit more issues,
Yeah.
so sorry about all that.
No
Hopefully it
worries.
wasn't I'm glad you sat and waited and you didn't just give up on it.
No,
Is
of course.
there how do you think that NYBC can help the recycling?
Yeah, well, I think you guys are already doing great things with these like summer Instagram interview chat things. I think that's a great way to
Mhm.
spread the message and the word. I was looking at your website earlier and I like how you have like testimonials and about who we are. So I think the biggest thing for you guys is just spreading the word. Like I'm all the way from California, which is so far away, and it's really cool that you guys were able to find me and connect with me. I think that's a great first step, and I'll definitely do whatever I can to help you guys out to help spread your message over here on the West Coast. But yeah, I think maybe trying to get more of these summer chats going and making them accessible, like recording them or whatever, to then put them on your website so people can watch them asynchronously after would be cool. Um, and yeah, and maybe keeping these going throughout the year. I know they're labeled as like the summer chats, but you know, you can keep
Yeah.
them year round.
All right, well, that should be it. Thanks, Emily, for jumping on and being patient and answering those questions how you felt like you should answer them. It really helps us, moving forward, getting things like this done. So, thanks so much, Emily.
Yeah,
For
of
sure to
course.
enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too.